Oh, that's okay. No, the prayers here. I'll get here. Oh, yeah. Anthony, do you have the prayers?
No, I don't.
Thanks, yeah. Starting with the Heart Sutra on page 2 in English. Thus I have heard. At one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of Boulder Peak Mountain with a great gathering of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the samadhi of the many aspects of phenomena called profound appearance. At the same time, the Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, saw the 5 skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva answered the Venerable Shariputra with these words. Shariputra, those men and women of the lineage who wish to follow the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look at it like this. The 5 skandhas should be seen purely in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form also is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, and having no characteristics, they are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no recognition, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no phenomena. There is no quality of sight and so on until no quality of mind and no quality of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no exhaustion of ignorance, and so on, up to no old age and death, and no exhaustion of old age and death. In the same way, there is no suffering, no origin, no ending, and no path. No wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide by means of the profound perfection of wisdom. And since their minds have no obscurations, they have no fear. Transcending falsity, they attain nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the 3 times have relied upon the perfection of wisdom, and have become true and complete Buddhas of unsurpassable, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the profound perfection of wisdom, the mantra of insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for it is not deceptive. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Teata om gate gate paragate parasangate bodhi soha. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and said to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva noble Avalokiteshvara that he had spoken well. Well done, O son of the lineage, it is so. O son of the lineage, since it is just so, the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the venerable Sharadvati Putra and noble Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva Mahasattva, and the entire gathering, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Lama Danga Pujesu Jabe Yama Jaselu Angelo Dini Nida Namda Rasavi Chene Dugu Jeyezi Nije Toga Lebanze Kanda Sebi Tere Mari Meda Dunya Jize Rozo Gula Puji Rase Yana Juju Yandeso Roda Cheru Nimo Nino Neje Charu Rozeje Mari Meze Dune Yugu Jene Jende Radena Dene Daji Saju Dasi Le don jase duego, chada jana juni nyere, dalo mise jabe yanadu. Arabazanadi, Arabazanadi. Cheche chera zeji dalu timu mabarasane kada tenju yulu tobayi lodre bobe nama tsedu. The short mandala offering on page 16. Saji Buki Joji Medora Rera Liji Nide Jabani Sanje Jindu Mide Parwai Loga Nanda Jina Jabasho Tamba Jena Je Juga Kala Jete Jene Jeta Tambe Duje Zemala Zaje Juje Chaba Wadu So Rana Mendala Kanya Tayame. Refuge prayer on page 22. Sanje Chodang Soje Jonala Janjo Bardo Dani Jazuji Dage Juje Jibe Sonanji Lala Bejere Sanje Rubarasho Sanje Chodan Soje Jonala Janjo Bardo Dani Jazuji Dage Juje Jibe Sonanji Lala Bejere Sanje Rubarasho Sanje Chodan Soje Jonala Janjo Bardo Dani Jazuji Dage Juje Jibe Sonanji Lala Bejere Sanje Rubarasho. 나무도 창대 쇼게 창대 다게 류도로 쥐다 게와 되선 제바나 시제 거라 나와나 대선 답아 배워서 다츠간 쇼라가 지신도 되는 하디요 다들이 쉬어 조디 나네 류다 로쥐 게자 송나네 류다 거다 송자 바제 류 송아 거다 송자 바제 류 답아 거다
손사바제 다 류뼈가 가도래야 는 단단하면서 류된데 비저 땅네 자와삼보 루니 는 모함바래야 안나메 유된 지denki 아니 류된지 서르든다기 지와지 렌투야기 는 베스 지그레 서르다 뼈와서 삼보 고안이 고온도 뼈와 아들의 지그레 당조 단단무도 때 다준조조 참에 메텐드라지 여러와 제가 단 되게 양종무서 슈자니 서래 다 받아 비교 야고지 돈이 마음바래 아니 땡텔이 자와 자산도야 로투에 토레 베티 제그레 마도 아니 지와 치만나서 망에서 당 된달마 사로이나 아니 무슨 동에 뭐번 농고래 내에도 아니 다리 땡데 토네 슈제니 마음바 남에 제den지 아니 요토가 베티 제고레스 다 남에 제den기 땡데 중앙이나 은소소 추 루야케네 거가 다 아니 니슈 친구지 요소가 되나와게 다 중에도 뭐죠 저한테 슈자니 아니 존나 텐데 인데야 사주고마 토토야다 때마주이네 되니 제 봐도 되어야 아니 빌리나 토야라 보다 도스제니 다고 저와제선도 못 보도와 담보도데 센데가랑 띵니 사주고마 두드는 저래 때마주이네 되니 봐도 되어야 아니 저런 거도 보지 봐도 되는 것도 지냈더니 림베야 사주고마 토야다 때마주이네 되니 지지와 되다 지와 주루 수준들이야 가리자니 아니 재산도 다네 사주고마 토야게 당서 아저와제 내도 다들이 쉬어야돼 소 남에유데 제대 유와라 남에유데 제대 토제도 게 말해데 추루발때 야와라니 쓰고요래 내도 남에유데 제대 생데 말아자 상게 요구야 말 근데 요마지발라 조서 못한 거 보여서가 다들이 거 쉬어야돼 남에유데 제대 요마지발라 단단히 맞서 조서 가는 거예요 거데 쉬어야 도세이
So we're still on the verse 4. Is it on? Yeah. Verse 4, the 4, giving away to all sentient beings your body, your positions, your good care in the past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing this. So
Just speak a little louder if you could.
can you hear?
No,
Okay. So we're on the 4th verse. It is giving away to all sentient beings your body, your positions, your good gain in the past, present, and future, and protecting, purifying, and enhancing this. So we have talked about the importance of protecting our body, purifying, protecting, purifying. So those, what is meant by protecting and purifying one's body have been already discussed during our previous teachings. So today we are focusing on what is meant by enhancing our body. So in general, enhancing this our body in this particular context is getting a better rebirth, in other words. And by gaining a better rebirth, developing towards enhancement or a development of one's spiritual quality. That is what is meant by enhancing. So, because we are able to do at this point, in other words, we are well equipped to be able to enhance our body at this point. Just because we have gained such a wonderful rebirth as a human being, perfect rebirth of human being, in other words, not just a human being, but perfect human beings, precious human beings. By gaining such a precious human rebirth, one is able to accumulate a cause that give rise to achieving 8 qualities that we talked about. 8, qualities that we talked about, talked around during our previous teaching, sorry. So by gaining such a precious rebirth, one should always look forward to getting better and better rebirth in the future. So this is one way of understanding, of enhancing one's body. So, with this kind of, with gaining such qualities, which are the 8 qualities of 8 qualities, it's not, then again here, working towards achievement of 8 quality is not something that is the ultimate goal of our practice, ultimate goal of engaging in practice of Dharma. It is to become oneself as suitable for engaging in the practice of Dharma and developing in such a way that gradually one will be able to achieve complete state of enlightenment. For that purpose, we need to engage in the practice, which become a cause for gaining these 8 qualities. So, if possible, one should, at best, in other words, one should always aim towards attaining enlightenment within this brief lifetime, within this single lifetime, in other words. I mean, if that is not possible, one's practice must be aimed towards gaining gaining complete state of enlightenment during the Bardo state. In the Bardo states, where you can achieve the Samucaya and gaining, to achieve complete state of enlightenment. If that is not possible, one should look for one should aim one's practice towards gaining enlightenment within 7 lifetimes or 16 lifetimes and so forth. So we need to put an effort to practice. Without practicing, just by listening to the teachings and reading books and gathering informations was not going to help us to move forward or embark ourselves on the path of enlightenment. So therefore, we should first of all to engage in the practice to achieve 8 qualities. And so to gain such 8 qualities, just having a wishful thinking or just praying alone is not sufficient to gain these 8 qualities. In order to achieve these qualities, one should engage in a practice which becomes a cause for gaining such 8 qualities.
남의 지금 너무 체림 보셔야 돼. 체림 하셔야 돼. 제가 당하고도 체림 보대야 상황이 몇에 제거로 체림 보대도요. 제가 남의 지대는 체림 보 저지를 써야 돼. 저 추분의지 완전히 저 송고요래. 제가 추 남의 분이 많이나 근데 제가 가서한테서도 추对머리야 도토야 과거에 sonsa tendeji chani ane tsirbo detuya ki jusol la gore esbore chazanda tsirbo deya jusol la yumi kalaya 고롱샤니네야 제바요래라 소소기 자주부터니네 제바요래 다 고롱도니 소소 신뢰 자친구치 또다 그거지면 어느지나 세자단지 산지가 살아야 뭐가 제기 드레제 토에데 제드레제 토바라라니 준그제 유대 근내지 마찬나 세자단지 산지가 살아는 거 소용도 근데 이들라니 준그제 유대 근내 산지가 거다가 제발라 근데 무주 때문에 지주듯이 나는 소나지기 근데 말 주에서 비기 산지다 장주에서 맞다도기 가지라 간달 라바나히지 라고요 봐 대나기 때문에 라바 제발라 근데 소소체 림보지 데토이나 근데 대수역이 소소 지주를 뭐지 라도요서 고노한테 대라지기 쳐도 세자단에 산지 사람 거야 소리마다 대주더라니 산지고 공도 제고요 봐 대내기 쳐도 소소 준한다 주고요 봐 대내기 전에 소소 준한다 주고 집에 가래 세름 보주 소토에는 소소를 그거 제가 주고 대내기 민자라 때니 공원이 제 세름보 소야기 햄바고 다들 대내지 공원도 되게 거래
So how does 8 colleges, the long life, having a long life or long lifespan is the first quality that one need to work towards. Because the reason for, working towards having a long life is because as a practitioners, if one gains this longevity, one will have more time to practice. And so here, when we talk about longing to achieve longevity, you can hear very important to have an appropriate motivation. Because one's motivation towards achievement of longevity is such that, my primary motivation of achieving longevity is to working for the welfare of other sentient beings as a mind practitioner. So this is very important motivation that one should have when one is talking about looking forward, working towards achievement of longevity. It's not just wanting to sustain one's lifespan, just to have a little bit longer life. That alone is not sufficient. So one's very purpose of sustaining one's lifespan is to work for the welfare of other sentient beings and work with other sentient beings. As a mind practitioners, one should have such motivations that may I achieve longevity to practice, to gain state of enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. This is indispensable motivation that one need to achieve when we are talking about achievement of our longevity. So then think about whatever the past great beings who have achieved complete state of enlightenment, all those qualities that have been achieved by, in other words, the great beings in the past. May I too also work towards achievement of those qualities for the benefit of all of the sentient beings. It is for this purpose I aspire to have, or I must work towards achievement of long life.
근데 이제 럽주나 코로나 내가 지금 시작할 때니 소소 체험보 유학 마음바 체험보 유학이 주소를 근데기 계산주고 버스제 단지 산주고 근데 그 맞죠이네 현재 자체부지 도토 유학쇼 현재 자체부지 도토 유학이야 체험보지 초도에는 들어가야 이제 되는 거지 도토 유학한테 내가 그 코로나 상보지가 시작할 때니 그 말로서 단대 차라 가리질라 그러나 지모바 지와 지만한테 소체를 보지 쳐야 남의 일이 지대가 나는 체를 보지 요약이 쳐도 단대는 것도 주소 간다 그러나 근데 세와 방을 해서 버려 시간을 너무 지가 방을 해서 버려 시간이 세와 방이나 근데 지금 레아라네 체를 뭐 요약이 해서 버려 tena yegi solo tangro yesi gore. Solo tangro sambo teni kaji chikage saya marani chila niwi tena yuwa ina tesore ya ane kaji jeni ane chiwale jota chiya. Kaji nahi tangi kare ya teni hajangi tanga gamagi chila niwi tena le ya ane sosogi 제 그는 어떤 jenny 아니 아니 나히 당위 왕이 거기 지처럼 가서 치워를 줘야 하고 근데 지 춤만 캐는 거는 더라더라 그 춤만 캐니 아니 거기 시야는 니 된다고 쓰잖아 아니 되니 미쳐가 제대로 지야라 소배 더라 소배 간다 이제 가능이네 약간 체험 기발이 아니 조약에 소속을 내는 거 저한테 다 소를 공부를 되는데 어떤 데를 먼저 소속에 라레다 토이나 아니 소속 체력 못 쳐야게 주사를 놓으려 해서 뭐래
Although that one may not be able to have a motivation, it is best to have this motivation, but if it's not possible to have a motivation, if it's not possible to have motivations of having this long life, working for the welfare of all other sentient beings, but one should at least have motivations in order to have the very purpose of working towards achieving long life, the longevity is to working for the welfare of other sentient beings. This is must have, because without having such motivations, just mere working towards achievement of longevity is coming to everyone, among all sentient beings, not only for us. Because we as a practitioners, our motivations should be a pure motivations for achieving longevity, right? Because who doesn't want to have a long life, in other words, as a human beings? Everyone wants to sustain their lifespan and have a long life. But our purpose as a minor practitioner, particularly our purpose for working towards achievement of longevity is working for the welfare of other sentient beings. This kind of motivation must have. So, so how do we then, accumulate costs that give rise to long life? Which enables one to achieve longevity, this life or the future life, and the successive future life as well. So therefore, here now, as we mentioned earlier, just by having a wishful thinking or praying alone is not, sufficient to achieve costs which give rise to long lifespan. So what should we do is to practice. What kind of the practice that we need to undertake at this time is to have a long life is to abandoning the violent act towards other beings. In other words, harmful actions towards other beings. this is the primary practice, which is also a sole practice that is needed for us to have to achieve a long life. So, as a result of abandoning those, harmful actions towards others, one will then be able to achieve long life in one's future life, as well as one will be able to sustain one's lifespan in this life as well. And so then, if one is able to, liberate animals, or in other words, animal liberations, what we call this is Soli, which means animal liberations, which means that we are actually saving the life of our animals, which is pretty common in the Buddhist, society. Or practice of animal liberation is pretty common to all of us. So, then also there are beings who are about to die, due to starvations, and one should work towards that and protect those beings from, from dying due to the starvations. And then there are many beings who maybe is about to die due to not having enough clothing in a very cold weather, and one should, give them enough clothes so that one can protect that individual from dying and so forth. And even by small insects, if you find the insects that are found into the water and so forth, if you can protect such animals or insects, it's also very, helpful and become a cause for having a long life in one's future life. So, in brief, one should always try to work towards, protecting other beings from the fear of death. In other words, that really becomes a cause for, one's longevity.
다들 신 네바드나래야 메지야 레 단니나지 단래야 안소소 지나서다 저도 메지야래 대나지게 네요 주야래 어디는지 다마다 도나 예 지방에 지하에 교대지하다 세르무 초약의 제도 아니 그런 상부지 등이 소속의 지방에 신도 지름까지 들어와 있네. 그래서 아마 소속 마음의 세르무 초약의 주소를 넣어야 어떻게 잡아야래.
So then also, this is also helpful to, it's also a good way of accumulating cost for one's longevity, is to giving a medicine to someone who needs it. And also assisting the sick person or the ill persons. In brief, if one should always try to protect people or protect sentient beings from the fear of death, or work towards, longevity of other beings with the good motivations or the pure motivations, the motivations we talked about earlier. And then this will really become a cause for achievement of one's own longevity.
단위에 도와서야돼 소다 가도 전이시 도와서도 제단다 니지고서 수익 통화이네 지금 돈인도 뭐 되는지래야 니지고를 쓰러와 제가 되는 유화이나 아니요 이제도 그래야기 자제 친구들이 제가 소소야 제 상황이 예도만 하지 되는 게 유화이나 아니 이제 뭐 보지 지소소 란저선 두투야당 두투어는 맞에 소소게 지도서대야랑 드mon게 주게 방랑 간대지 고소래야 소소게 때가 있는 고소게 대나서만 말 때니 아니 기계와는 꾸야게 그 자진지로와 내일도 도상보 세야들 도상보 용하나 또 zuba고야들 zu빈나데 zu미진사나 시게 zuba고야들 다가다 콘로미지와 존나 콘로 빠마도 있네 지 콘로 시안 콘로지야 간노노 어떤데 제단 투드나 zuba고야들 간다 zu빈나네 지시비 제도이나 그래서 마음바래야 지역권이 라니 예동과 통투야게 엔도상보 근데 용을 해서 말
So the second quality is attractive feature, the physical feature, in other words, an attractive physical appearance, or whatever you call. So this is also something that is needed, because there is with this such attractive features can also one of the attributes that can help other sentient beings. It also, so that if when someone, whoever looked at us, and it is something that is so, delighting, and with this, when you are instructing them, if one gives the instructions to the followers, what is to be done and what is to be abandoned, can be followed, because so therefore the attractive physical feature is also something that is a good quality of attracting the followers, and also to be able to give them instructions of what is negative to be abandoned and what is positive that need to be achieved. And such quality of attractive feature can be achieved by means of engaging in the practice of patience. If possible, one should completely uproot this negative thoughts, anger or hatred. If that is not possible, one should at least lessen our anger and hatred. And this is the practice of patience, or the tolerance, is said to be the most, it is also known as the ornament of all the practices, in other words. So therefore, practice of patience is really needed when one considers oneself as a Dharma practitioner.
자 나중에도 저번에 저가 이거 보는데 맞는 요에는 대산에 뭐뭐 걸고도 아무도 하고 싶어요 사제 자 참아대 소소가 내는 것이 참여야 아니면 뭐 말하니 잘해요 제가 가지고 뭐 요데 그냥 용도 하고 뭐도 괜찮아 대나 이게 소소 저거는 뭐 버는 더 상부 중앙이네요 타고 뭐 상하게 더 상부 니지부터 잘 수인은 상하고 돈이 되고 마사모 코디야지 용고로 되는데 되게 예비 조사 연다 요래만서 지금 권조 공부보다 소소 기회 진행보다 제 방안으로 되는데야 소소에 메토드부터 니버티아 되는 것도 같이서 마타티아 되는 메토드부터 표현이나요 네 단데 제 권조당 아니 기회 진행당 소소 방안서 돼 소소하게 소사삭 땡쳐서 주로 숨고요 같은 인도 땡쳐가지고서 내가 소소하게 지도도선 못 표현하고 저는 메도드고 정확하게 제선을 지러 그 니지고는 지적으로 메도나이 니지고 메도나이 도대서 뭐 이동원이 통과를 되는데 근데 가가라 메도나 표현나 양소소 지만 예동원지 도상보 근데 지야다 되나 얘기 말음에 표현돼야 기침을 쓰고요 주변에서 마음에 표야 다저데 양도선 거유하게 주소래 대나시기 지군절 나자래 파마리아 거야래 아니 돌아사바드라 니지거드나 표야다 아니 제니지고 다 친구가 있는 집에 완전 다 써나보다 마발카한테 제한테는 여러와 어디는고 파마다 아니 고jo고 롱코부터 죽을도 나제다 오지스케 마트 롱코 나제다리아 차도제도 세하나보다 오지니 진고제 세하나보다 여러와 제가 별리 이게 저러나보다 세나보다 지금부터보다 차제야 테라피와 다소다나 제 테라피에나 양도 속에 라니 제모만 도상고 텐데 요약이 주소를 보고 요래 어떠네.
So if one practice patience and someone who is an individual who is so patient is actually, liked by everyone. Someone who is so impatient, people hesitate even to contact that person, even to communicate with such person, because they have been so hesitant of even having a conversation with that person, because he or she is so impatient, and you can't even, even just you wanted to have something very important conversations, you will not have the confidence to talk to that individual. So this is very, a fact that we all experience that. And someone who is very patient, and everyone wants to talk with that person, and everyone wants to communicate with this person, and want to have a conversation with such individual, because he is. This is a very quality of patience. This is a beauty of being being patient. So, so therefore, practice of patience is very, very important. And then also, there are other, qualities or causes which enables one to have a, attractive physical feature. And physical feature is to offering flowers to the individuals, even to one's parents, one's spiritual teachers, and also offering lamp or the light, in other words, to the individuals, and offering a garment to the individuals and parents, as well as other great beings and so on, and also offering ornaments such as bangles, earrings, rings, necklaces, and so forth. If you think of making an offerings, such ornaments are not actually offered to the Nimanakaya form, but only towards the Sambhogakaya form, the deities and so forth. Also, all of this will become, if one has a good intention, in other words, if one offer all of this, if one engages in such practice with a good intention, then suddenly this will become a cause for having an attractive physical feature in one's spiritual life.
다 somebody represent soba sayadere, represent soba cheba sayade. 다 represent soba sayade jina shata manda jure. Ine da represent soba sayade na ju ji shimbi gru na bata gare gru sore ta jawa na ya tene gru tole so manda jure jata shimba gru sayade doba gru sayade. Shimba gru le doba gru sayade. Jata rume banda tsagore. Jata tene rume ba le jeso ai na tene jeso ga na ya jetele ya karasagore. Tonu ya tsag mare ta kanda. Tene indu da ri pagi jabo gru na bata. Transi gru sa tene shegor ja pra. Ta tene mai be na kanda so 제 밤에 야면에 뭐 상보 상하게 되는 자주 제외하게 마상 야르드는 여러와 어떻게 다 근데 마상 저도 나래 지금 뭐 편치하게 야보스 대사 그 마상 야르드는 나래야 아니 제가 들으면서 그래서 제가 스트레스한테 제가 제가 조사 가려고 그러나 뭐서 맞아 방법에서 그러다 좋은 거 같대 맞아 봐야 돼 맞아 생긴 지 비자도 썼어 제가 맞아 쇼징고 제가 있는 맞아 생긴 데가는 콜이 마 야와요 콜이 마 줘봐요 간다 라니 얘는 치워도 봐봐 zembi 내가 제대로 지금 생주주의 강사지 제가 맞아서야 돼 시발에 로래 제가 얘네랑 초등 zembi 내가 제대로 지금 생주주의 제가 제대로 줄때 강사 들어야 아니 맞아 되게 강사 쓰는 그래 제가 강사냐 맞아 생긴데 얘네랑 초등 봐 이제 되게 들어로 제가 내가 맞아 지금 지우서 뭐는 얘네랑 초등 들어서 얘는 통주도 안 나줘다 근데 용거를 근데 용어는 얘게 애들한테야 창조 제고요 말해 제가 다니 끌리 메타신 수만하지 맞아 펑니 맞아지 돌니 에는 라니 얘집은 저이나 아니 얘게 라니야 아니 가서 창조 제고를 통제고요래 근데 이도 시행라니를 창조제 통제용도 그래 근데 라니게 제연이야 가는 거지 라와이나 근데 가는 뭐죠 제가 라니게 시 집하게 개완들이야 고와이나야 근데 저런 개완들이 부시 되거든요 방글스 라비컬 테마타도 파jo게 나서 가는 뭐지네 도망기로 또 제토를 지내는데 이 개완이야 고토야게 차진지를 되는데 맞아 다른 말은서 라레 갈다거나 소다 맞아도 보내 맞아 가는 거지야 돼 다들 뭐 바리를 부서서 내지하게 주사처래
But in the third quality, the quality of being an excellent caste, in other words, it is needed in especially the teaching especially given by the great Indian masters, and good caste is also needed to really to give the teachings to others because the caste is a big matter at that time. It matters a lot in India. Even though someone who must be a very good practitioner, but overall they have, in India they have such a tendency of looking at the caste. What kind of caste? If he's acting like a very good, very wonderful teacher, but what kind of caste does he belong to? Which caste does he belong to? And if they know that you belong to certain castes, such as blacksmith or butchers and so on and so forth, then they go, oh well, he might be a good teacher, but we're not going to follow him and so on and so forth. So it is therefore, in reality, the caste doesn't matter. It's a practitioner, but it is matter at that time in Indian society and in ancient time. And still, it's matter in India still. So therefore, it's always says that it's good to have a better caste according to ancient Indian tradition. The castes such as the Brahmin caste and the king caste. So the caste belongs to the kings and ministers and so on and so forth are said to be an excellent caste. So therefore, again, to have an excellent caste or the excellent family lineage, in other words, it's also something that is very, very important. So in order to have such an excellent caste, again, here just by having a wishful thinking and praying will not enables us to achieve this cause to have excellent caste. We need to really create an actual cause that give rise to accident. That's actually give a result of having this, accident cause. So cause one of the very important cause to have excellent cause is here to abandoning the pride or the arrogance is something that is very important because when our mind is predominated by the pride, we always think that we are the one, we are the above everyone, and this is a very, this is a root of complacence, complacence, and this complacent is complacence is the one that really prevents us from working towards our own mental development, one other spiritual development, because one always feel that one has everything that one needs. So therefore, there's no room for development. So therefore, this, abandoning the pride or arrogance is something that is very, very, very important. Because when we generate a strong pride and arrogance, we always think of others lower than oneself. And not only that we think of that, but we denigrate. We look very down upon them, which also become a very big obstacle for development of one's spiritual developments. It is therefore we find in the 8 verses of training the mind, where it says, one should look oneself lower than others. That is very important line, important sentiment. So then here, this is such a mental state. The pride is such a mental state, the mental factor, which really, praise oneself, always praise oneself, and looking down upon others. And this will always prevent us from working towards a better man or the better person. So therefore, in order to achieve such an excellent, representative cast, one should work towards abandonment of this pride.
다 이바데 왕슈세데 왕슈베도 토바세데 저 왕슈세데 저당 담다이나 다나 근데 왕슈세데 당수 빈조레 빈조 노노주 네 야고여바 때 저상 다소소레 주노노주 야고여이나 안모소 나주 되용 버시는 소나시게 진년바마와다 진바다야 고 신두이 체도로 두젠두이 체도 아니 두용 버시소가 나지 소소 노노주 요이나 소소 개표주다 아니 예레 제네 아니 예몽보 랑스 두다제 예몽보 랑이 순두 타비제레 아니 라니기 고강 고거를 주로 자자 아니 데몽기로 제아토레야 도스 고만나니 대다게 신두르요 자제 주로 때네도 완주부터 소바세야 돼 아니 마바 라니 저 완주 저부터 소바 여딩 된다지 그나리야 아니 된다딩이 지나리야 아니 저저 그래서 그래 제가 단디도 된다지 마바래야 주노부터 소바 유한지가 단다는 거서 아니 주소 가르치려고 그래서 이나 저 지마다들이 지면은 아주 특이데 사나기 지마도는 아주 중그래서 나시게 진단하니 유일 통배 강사 소리야 아니 소소게 강도지도게 지마다야다 아니 무색이 소소리야 무슨 소리야 ane jenya mazalamo jenge mewa ina yang soso ge pensen kunya la de shandale ya tunjuro la kanto jitu na otene na wa ina ande ne la tene mo para rani ane nolo ju toba meba otende yungi ji na le na sagare ane kaya nolo ju toba meba otende ji yana ji ure esa ure jasa tana ngaro 라렌 타야데 마음바로 놀아주 부는 거지 유학이 지도 다는 것도 라렌 타야데 다만다 예래야 집바다 그래 지민나한테 저거래 뭐서 또 동세병 가서 보내면서 집하고 무슨 소리를 어떤 되는지 나온 거래.
So the fourth is to have wealthy to become take a river in a wealthy family and to become one step as wealthy, in other words. That is also very important here. That one is able to have a wealth, one can engage in the practice of generosity, which is also very important. It's not that here we're not talking about one is working solely towards wealth and accumulate a lot of wealth and one's own benefits. We're talking about here, whatever the wealth that one may have is to help other sentient beings. That is what we're talking about here. Because even in this is also one of the attributes of the quality of the spiritual teacher. Spiritual teacher must have the four essential quality to integrate their followers, their disciples, and one of which is to giving a material gift to the followers. So this is all. But again, here, the wealth is solely to working towards having a wealth is solely towards subduing the mind of the disciples. In other words, it is for this purpose we one of the quality that is important for one to achieve. So in order to do that, again here it requires a cost. So such a result cannot be achieved from nowhere. It requires a cost. So the main cause for becoming one, to have a wealth in one's spiritual life, is to engage in the practice of generosity. Such there's mentioned in many there's mentioned in the sutras where it says by engaging in practice of generosity, one achieves wealth in one's spiritual life. By engaging in the practice of morality, one gains happiness in one's spiritual life, and so forth. So therefore, whenever one sees someone who needs something, or someone who is very poor, and whatever is possible that one can give to that person, one should do so. And particularly when someone is begging, when someone is asking something from us, one should always try to give something to that person with good intention. Here again, intention really matters, because our motivation and intention really plays an important role in our spiritual development. So therefore, always important to examine one's own motivations whenever one is engaging in any kind of practice, so that one's practice becomes pure. Because if one's motivations are not correct, regardless of what kind of practice one may do, then this practice will not become very fruitful or meaningful.
근데 이제 뭐 소소게 완전 되지야래. 이제 뭐 완전 되니 가르치고는 이제는 근데 기회 줄이야. 그래야 돼. 뭐 사보지 써야 두번 기를 쓰기는 나게 되려야 그야 체도 도세 배는 단지 조선아이네 무슨 주비주의 속 주비주 땅이 소소 쳐도 못 보여야 근데 누가 되나시 이내야 단지 지바단이 시험 문제니 시험 기월이야 그야 지들에 맞아 이제 비슷하게 해요 말이야. 어떤 짓을
So having wealth and being a wealthy, it's also one of the attributes for encouraging others to engage in the practice of Dharma by engaging in practice of generosity. Because if one has the wealth, one is able to give someone who needs something. And by seeing these good actions, can also change the mind of the other beings, the being who's actually receiving natural gift from you. So therefore, this will also become a very important attributes of establishing someone in the practice of Dharma, or becoming a very good cause for enabling others to engage in the practice of Dharma.
그것도 좋아요 나.
Any questions?
These 8 factors, some of them in our American world can be seen as a little bit difficult or problematic. For example, having a rebirth in a good caste.
That's right.
In this country, we like to think that there are no castes. It's not true, of course, and people have many biases, particularly racial biases, which are a problem. But it's also true that many people in this country admire people who come from backgrounds where things were difficult and do well. And so your circumstances of birth in terms of caste, as it were, are not the same. And it becomes a little bit problematic, or even has racial overtones to think, well, maybe I need to be born as a white person rather than a person from Asian descent or someone who's black. And that would be very problematic in this country. So I'd like to hear Geshe-la's thoughts on this.
어래.
초진시에 시우진들에서 즉 고르장 렉토를 레고아를 스타일다. 단다 그런 지나네. 미리 인지 고양 그런 데 했다는. 그 시우지 통되고 없이. 미리 고 내가 아주 저저로 미리를 세웠다. 이제다. 미리 고천도 가가를 세웠지 여러 번. 어떻게 세상 될래야 된다. 네. 아니 문제는 될래야. 跟这个学习通过了， this one's on the rip from some right. There's very mean that coming this year, so if those there's thinking that this is permanent.
是是，在这样子做的，说能做给，能做当，那让金子当，等着往给我说，是给些希望的什么的创业呢，太些阶段嘛，每年真的是，不知道怎么因为七八的每年都约的吧，是吧？没人搞不约哪不约的，那可以上班可以年不约他的约的吧？一年大过。每年的一百的马路做个每次接马多呢，俺妈我做的靠他们吃那我是的呢，拿着的用的个有的用的的，个你们往给用的这嘞，现在他是不是说的，人家没这个，刚那个七八的等着给人家搞嘛嘞，说他们上坡，是吧？没所以呢，靠他们的呢，用个就是说等着起来的，搞不他们每年最近些我来上那的。但那这种我都拿去抗住的那一堆，没样的就那，他们的用的，他们上的七八用过的，可以不可以，他们上不给拿了钱的，那就从这里长上来，让对了家的，说的没谁跟着上的，那让对，人家感觉到了也不知道，但是他们，他那约了我等着去，他们上不去的，那不会去的艰难，说。个人的是不同做在他那讲的对不对？是吧？他们可以包括教刚学的，那包括来就把个老中医呢，起来嘛这，在同医呢，管说来看嘛就包括了的呢，就等于个新源人等着嘛这他的某个吧，我做的的，他们是多少，做过了去了吧？他们可以的，我那把个说改的讲。就在同来当，在看把他感觉到了不做作业的，感觉了，不作业呢，说你们这个地方是大道上面的了，当然他们说就中国现在当，感觉到了也突然当，那别小心也会有点个，他们个登交头的那个他们都有了，我等这个他们给做过了解释，那就不能做过了解释，等这就成全的这个人。
So, as we spoke about earlier, that this teaching was given by the great Indian master in those very early centuries, and at that time, those are required, and it's something that really becomes a factor, for integrating their followers and giving them the teachings of the Dharma and listening them and following them. It is at that time, those really become a very important factor. So, but now, even in India, and this caste system is not as strong as it used to be. It is changing. And many other countries, this caste system and this very complex hierarchical system, hierarchy system is actually changing now. But now at this point, what we should think about when it comes to about excellent caste, it doesn't necessarily excellent caste, but a good family background is something that is needed. Here, the good family background, we're not talking about wealth, education, and so on and so forth, but rather a good people, good parents who can who can bring their children in a proper way by setting one's own example and letting them see one's example, by demonstrating one's own actions of being a good person, compassionate person, helping others. And at this time, instead of just saying a good cast or excellent cast, we should consider someone who comes from such a family background with the influence from their parents should be considered, should be substituted as an excellent cast. And because there are, even though maybe they have a very good family background, in other words, with good education, their parents may have a very good education, very wealthy, having all those properties and so on and so forth. But when it comes to the children, they're not that good, It is very common. We all have experience. We all witness that. And they're not really admired children, not listening and do their own thing and end up in very chaos situation. But right from the beginning, if one is able to set a good example, if one knows how to bring them properly and guide them properly, then they will really become a good children. Such as not only just giving them an education and so forth, but giving them a really good advice on how to become a good person, how to be a happy person, how to be kind-heartedness and so forth. So the excellent caste is also here. One of the attributes of excellent caste is quality of excellent caste is someone who is very truthful, who never lies, and who actually does something that he or she has already committed without breaking their commitment. And but following the truth. And even if the individual becomes the president or the prime minister or the highly honored, government officials and so on, that such individual is truthful and something who is so honest, and that can really become a cause for a peaceful community and peaceful society. If this is not, then say something and doing something else will not only just jeopardize the society, but also become their own society, but also eventually create a, a, a big chaos in the world as well. So therefore, one of this excellent quality, the excellent cast is also refers to as someone who speaks truth and who follow the truth.
Um, what I understand is that the Buddha didn't so accept the caste so much, he wanted to reform it. And that's maybe what Krishna was talking about, causes. But for me, when I interpret it, at least in this day and age, at least this present day and age, I try to use it I try to apply it to enlightened qualities and not so much worldly qualities, or even I personally like when you talk about the family, like the 5 family Buddhas. I think about the qualities of the inside, the wisdom of the wisdom, truthful wisdom that's coming from 5 different families, or 6 families, or 7 families, or whatever. But when I look at it that way, then I can see it all being the same nature, but yet expressed in different ways, for the greater good. But I do have I would say I would have a sort of non-accepting idea. It's a concept, and it's a cultural thing that I don't have any judgment about, but I don't want to be part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
其他的3节节的日头日呀，给你一见面的，我们送有巴士，送一群的也说是来也是，各位就是就巴士这个些。那你呢？我们就真的日不能做我是的日上我也结果了记得，到光生大的那些，就确主要的那个是在送那些不确主要的就听见就听没见有啊，就他的送的就是你呢2年你们讲话不用说所以的方式所以不能的呀，这个他这个的也会看到现在就为了他，那你这特别没得联系，看见不是哪里的，都可能就特别没几年吧就老表是可以看为的，我们这特别是或者年了的，可是可能你不差的，你看前年前超过了是，他搞这个的第一个谁来了的。这若是我们现在没有什么去来讲，当然的这个是很简单的，这个的都是，在那儿学习的，或者主要是那个商家的学习。
这个方向我都是吧，现在啊，你有个讲嘞，中间这个人们做啥的，那个去见个的呀，人7个面说的，可是讲话那里呀，人没把做。那长得当接着是那有些超过嘛，去年都超过嘛，他在那讲那呢，可以在那约嘞，中间这个去的新北人呢，这嘎拉人呢，这随这个呢，现在这个日子过来，你去的日给讲面是，随着这个哪里接触的接超过约是，所以那个当么的日做过嘛嘞，可能接着些这个日的，这里日前嘛，就那个，是吧？现在呀，咱那么多日本做菜的7个月的5个月嘞，原来那边3级长，你那边的这个这个当嘛的，那么说他给叫我们看到了呀，我们谈到时候啊，加上 Lede the sign Chani, over the blue chivarete, Rebel Lede the Jabo Jerry. Jerry Chigi, Sani Chania, Tawatan is Shidichi, the Sani Changi, and the Korojabu Riosan, Tele Palende Chema, Paris, Warta, Tanasumuyare. Chill the Palin daughter, Tay Rebel in Ingelia, and the Pa, Nature Tambare. Then I jigi, that the patients are then I jigi, so Ridan Ru, Yabo Yugina, Shindu Drualia, Lecture. Take it all and the Nami the Javania, the Shindu Judgment Druacha, Shindu Dru Bucaria, Soso Junama Juana, Yaboyore, Tokasayana, Yaboyore, Richimoyana, Yaboyore. Today they was where which generally ritual message mato ripeto to the recognition de schedule them challenge that you were going to
So the Buddha has clearly stated that whenever who practice and follow my teachings have no caste, there's no difference in caste. That's true. It's he in fact said that regardless of what kind of caste that you belong to, once you come to become a followers of the Dharma, and everyone is equal. There is no higher caste and lower caste. There's no concept of higher caste and lower caste. Once you come into the land of Dharma, that's what he stated here. But here at this particular, in this particular context, that there isn't excellent caste also has a very good point. Because the reason for having excellent caste is merely to work for the welfare of other beings. It is more effective for, especially those at that time, more effective someone who is with a good, family lineage or the caste, in terms of working for the welfare of others. And it matters those days and at that time. Even if you look at the argument between Buddha Palita and Bhavaviveka. In the beginning, although Buddha Palita is a very sharp and very brilliant scholar, but when it comes to having a debate between Bhavaviveka and Buddha Palita, it is to say that sometimes Buddha Palita choose not to answer the questions, choose to not to ask the questions because of the caste. This Bhavaviveka is said to be belongs to the caste of king. So therefore, he always respected it. And this is how it is so effective at that time, those days. And then, of course, later on, based on the teachings of the Chandrakriti, then when they are commentating on the Chandrakriti's teachings, then Buddha Palita raised a lot of questions and negating and invalidating the Bhavaviveka's writings. But that's all in writings, but not in person.
Some of the parent in 자가 나게 들으면서 말대 나다 따다 쳐서래 제가 쓰고다 그저 트셔다 자가 나게 제르다 자들다 말을 되게 별도서 말대 무슨 나다 쳐다 따요 어디서래야 르트서 해래 매이나야 제 그런 무주상력을 르트그래 그나 가서 찬스를 제비 그래 지마바샤가 나와샤게는 그 아마도 가버려도 아마도 무주간을 사는 열쇠하러 된다에 주bat에서 열래 다 손정은 저게 다들가 아마가를 된다를 열쇠하다 칠을 열쇠하다 내 열배하네 저거
This, although in Tibet, we don't have the caste system of like, Brahmin caste or the king caste or whatever, we don't have those kind of caste system. But we still have some kind of caste system in Tibet as well. When especially, and then also there's the caste, different caste system among human beings, different caste system, even horses. But I've never heard that one. And then also dog. And so when the families are talking about having their son married to someone, and if someone is interested in someone to marry someone, they always look for what kind of family lineage they belong to, and how their family backgrounds are. They always analyze that, and this process is still going on in Tibet. And also, I don't know whether there's a horse and dog as well. Okay.
So we should say the dedication prayers, page 23 and 24, and then continue with auspicious wishes on page 28. Dagi jine
사회계와 대단로와 그라가면 제거는 주서 로사라마예 대베니고르도 사제로
saji
조시메도라 르라데예니 대장하데 산제진도 멘데보아예 로그나다 유나저바라위로
kewan kundu
야나라마나 안다메 죄제베라모죄제 사다라지 유데로도니 도제 정교고 반여도요
yedam guru
라나메라나가네야다야메
jetsuname kutse
라데제 나가르네 조주지와나 로사데베 드메 사마제 로웨 메세타도 덴주지
gari rawe
고웨지 가서 베단데와 마르누에네 제레스와 덴세 자소예 야베세데 바도 덴주지
chapel favu
제다 제바다 고도 상보 대야데제 대다 구지 지소 다로지 개완데다 탐제로도 유선 집에 자와 탐제 모아 가나 저도 모바데 나게 개외 사완데 그지 상보 주제로도 모아라지
Dave said that in order to make it forgetting again in order that. Dave,